Hello, I'm Wayne Hudson.
And I'm Jeremy Tillman.
Here we are again with another coaching tip for the Christ life. We've been walking with you through some things that God has taught us over the past several months in the midst of diverse change. That, my ministry looks different than it did back the past several years, and so does church life, so does pastoring. We've been talking about just some valuable lessons. We talked about trusting the sovereignty of God. Last time we talked about leaning in close to Jesus, and just what that looked like, and the importance of clinging to Jesus in the midst of change, because he never ever changes. Today we want to talk to you about the third lesson that we've learned, and that is that the importance of staying connected and prioritizing that I have to work at it now. It doesn't come easy, but it is so vitally important to stay connected to Jesus, but also to stay connected to other people, to allow other people to invest in me spiritually, and for me to invest in others spiritually. Even though it looks different than it ever has before, we have to make that a priority. What are some of the things that you've learned about staying connected and ways to do that?
Okay. Well, first of all, going back to, we were made to be in relationship.
That's right.
Relationship to God, relationship with other people. So we were never created to live in isolation.
That's right.
And so we've got to connect. And but man, you start looking at what we've been through over this past year. Connection looks totally different now than it did a year and a half ago.
Sure does.
And and so often I think we've taken things for granted, and so we've really had to think outside the box. But to think outside the box is not a bad thing. To make some changes is not a bad thing. We've seen some things, just God begin to work in some pretty neat ways just around here. But when I think about prioritizing connecting, some of the things that we've seen is just the ways that we've been able to connect. Because, hey, there's been situations where we have not been able to gather together just in one space, one room. And so we've had to utilize FaceTime. We've had to utilize Zoom to be able to do that. Some of our groups, discipleship groups, through this pandemic, when we weren't able to get face-to-face, utilize FaceTime and Zoom. And some of our Sunday school classes utilize Zoom through this time that has been effective. Now, does it look the same? Absolutely not, but it's still effective. We're still getting together. There's still that connection there of diving off into God's Word together with other believers. And something that's been neat is we've got a couple of classes that have people within those classes that don't have the means for FaceTime and Zoom. They just don't have that capability.
Right.
So what's been neat is they've used a system kind of like conference call.
Right.
And so they're all on the phone at one time. And that's been pretty neat to see how God has used that through this time. And so, hey, we've had to think outside the box, but we have to be intentional of still connecting, because if we isolate ourselves, isolation is going to lead to destruction. And we don't want that.
That's right. Isolation is never good.
That's right.
We need other people in our lives. And I would agree that, and I think you agree with me, that getting together in person is probably the best way. But there's times we can't do that now. And that we've got people that don't need to be in crowd. You have them in your church. We have them in every church. But we still need to prioritize connecting. We encourage you, find ways to connect with other believers, whether it be in person. If you can meet in person, take advantage of those opportunities. If you cannot, Zoom, get in a Zoom meeting, get on a conference call, but we need each other. And one of the things that I've noticed during this time, if I don't make it a priority, it will not happen, because it's not always easy and it's not always convenient, but it's well worth it. So we encourage you, go let Jesus be Jesus in you today and connect with other believers. It's vitally important. Be intentional about connecting. Have a blessed day.